What's going on, guys? It's Charr here, and today we're going to be talking about what to do in kind of the off season of Marvel Champions. So we're going to talk about what to do in kind of this off-season / lull period of Marvel Champions, what I've been doing, what I suggest you guys could do, and everything in between. So you guys have probably noticed it's going to be a pretty chill video. Just throw me on in the background, no visuals, just talking head video. I just wanted to sit down and chat for a bit because Marvel Rewind is on a break this week. As you guys know, I said we were taking a break after the completion of Mojo Mania and also after the completion of Next Evolution. So this is that break week, so I wanted something to come up for Tuesday. So I just want to talk about kind of like what I've been doing in this lull period, what you guys could be doing, and some recommendations and suggestions from me. So speaking of this like lull period, why is there a lull period? Well, the biggest reason in my opinion is that we should have been playing Civil War like for a couple weeks at this point, but sadly it got delayed sometimes, I think earlier in September or maybe at the end of August, somewhere around there. We learned that it was being delayed until October, which is okay, you know, delays happens, but it feels kind of bad because I feel like almost every single product released this year has been delayed, and so I don't know, it feels like you have a lot of anticipation building up to something, and the Civil War box seemed pretty cool and interesting, and most people want to get their hands on it, and it's not possible. And my heart does go out to the people who aren't in the US. This is a very US-centric, in my opinion, game, and specifically this channel, where everyone or every other place in the country has had even worse delays, or every other place in the world usually has had worse delays in the US, for like Trickster Takeover, for like the hero packs, for the release of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I know it took Europe maybe like an extra month to get it over there, so of course my heart goes out to you guys on that as well. But you know, feeling it on this side of the pond, so to say, it's still tough, and I'm really looking forward to Civil War. We do know there's going to be an article coming out this Thursday, so look forward to kind of the beginning of getting back into it out of this sort of lull / off-season period. But yeah, there's stuff coming on the horizon, but for a couple of weeks it's felt kind of, for lack of a better word, dead, and I think that's fine. This isn't like a TCG, or this isn't some sort of like TCG like Lorcana, like One Piece, like Pokemon, Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh! It's not anything like that. Obviously, a lot of our hype cycles aren't around like big box releases, it's about our big product releases. But we don't have like a rapidly evolving meta or like tournaments to follow to stay online and engaged. A lot of that is really through the content creators community. A lot of the stuff that I've been able to do through collaborations, you know, collaborating with that MCDC card reveals, which I hope you guys enjoyed. It was a ton of fun to be a part of that. And yeah, so there's really not a ton going on in sort of like the actual product release space, because the delays kind of sets everything back a month. There's like an extra month of lull that they didn't really necessarily plan around. You know, we had the content creator reveals leading up until what was supposed to be the release of Civil War, and then it was delayed a month, so then we had reveals for 2 weeks for a box that we're not seeing for a month afterwards. It just feels kind of awkward. Of course, it's not necessarily in their hands. We don't know the whole specifics behind it. That's kind of like the reason why I would call this kind of a lull period for the game. So let me talk about briefly what I've been doing. A lot of it, specifically Marvel Champions related, I'll start with that. Because there hasn't been any sort of like pressure to really keep up with the latest and greatest, upload some videos on like new heroes or the new scenarios. I did make a review of the Trickster Takeover scenario that, you know, had pretty good reception and people seemed to like that. But it wasn't really a review. I was just generally talking about the product. But on the side for that, I've been able to stock up on a couple of videos. So I've been getting ahead on Marvel Rewind, mostly because when the new, when the new product comes out, I really want to just sit down and focus all of my efforts on playing the game, playing the new heroes, playing the new scenarios, and just having a ton of fun outside of doing that on the channel. Of course, I do want to do some gameplay of them on the channel, and that'll be really fun, fresh, and new for me to do, rather than having to also record the Marvel Rewind solo games in the same period of time. It's just like, I love playing the game and I like playing the game a lot, but they can be so much where it's like really most of my effort or most of my playtime wants to be going towards the new stuff. So having to go back to do Rewind kind of messes with that. So the fact that I've been able to kind of record and plan ahead for Rewind has been really nice, because now that I know when this new box comes out, I can just devote a ton of my time thinking about the heroes, deck building with the heroes, playing the heroes, and stuff like that. I go to this weekly meet every Saturday. So another thing kind of champions related that I've been doing has been kind of mixing up mod sets. Now, I'm not somebody in general, even outside of Marvel Rewind or playing the game, I very rarely mix mod sets. It's just really not something I do. I don't know if it's like a side effect of when I was starting the game. It feels like you're not really beating the villain unless you beat them with the recommended mod sets. But as I've come to the end of Marvel Rewind and I've kind of completed the so-called challenge for myself of beating every single villain on expert mode, the fact that I have a win against all of them on expert mode with a limited card pool or the cards that were available when they released, it feels like I've kind of like completed the game in a way where I don't have to feel restricted to playing them in their default mod sets, their recommended mod sets on expert. I can now mix it up because I know at this baseline I am good enough, whether deck building wise, player wise, or both, to defeat all these villains at their recommended difficulty. Now I can make them easier and have fun with them, or I can make them way harder and have fun with them. Usually it's on that second one that we've been doing. We've been playing like standard 2 at this local. We've been playing like mixing in some of those really nasty mod sets from the hood and other scenarios like the inheritors or like state of emergency, and just putting them into these kind of weaker scenarios to kind of bump up their difficulty. And it's kind of like a group camaraderie, maybe like group suffering if you think about it that way, where we have to play these kind of older, weaker villains, but we're buffing them up to the point where, man, these are really tough encounter cards we're flipping. We have to deal with all these threats on the board in a way that's really effective and fun. Another thing, which is a normal tip that I give when you're kind of finding yourself having a lull in the game or not a ton of stuff to look forward to, just go out into your collection and pick up a random hero. I know you guys are like, I don't like She-Hulk, I don't like Nebula, I don't like Scarlet Witch, whatever the hero that, I don't like Quicksilver, whatever the hero that you're like, I'm not a big fan of, give them a try one more time. Try them in an aspect you think they have no business being in. Try them in aspects you think they have all the business being in. You might be surprised how much you enjoy, or maybe reaffirms your non-enjoyment of the hero. Either way, I think it's a good idea when there's not a lot of new content, or especially like new heroes coming out, to revisit some of those older parts of your collection. Make some decks for fun. It's not necessarily always about getting that win. Just try some of your lesser played heroes out again. Maybe it was a lack of time, you didn't really get around to them more, or maybe you just really like your favorites and you like playing them over and over. Whatever it is, I give some of those lesser explored heroes a chance. For me recently, I've been playing a ton of like lesser explored heroes. I've played some Groot decks, I've played like Drax, been having a lot of fun with Drax specifically. I've played like some Quicksilver, I've played Scarlet Witch, and like I played Deadpool, and some of them are like better than others, some of them I enjoy more than others, and some of them I kind of, remember why I didn't like them so much, or some of them I think about, wow, why haven't I revisited this sooner? It's really just a give or take, and I think you'll have a lot of fun exploring those older heroes, similar to kind of like that thing of mixing up mod sets, mixing up heroes and kind of your matchups and things like that will truly be a ton of fun for you to go and do that. Those are all kind of my Marvel Champions related recommendations for what to do in the lull. I think some like sort of further explorations you can do is get into like custom content creation, maybe explore some of the custom content people have made. People have made custom heroes for basically everything you can think of, a ton of DC heroes, a ton of Marvel heroes not in the game. If you're really looking forward to Daredevil whenever he comes out, there's probably so many customs you could sink your teeth into. Just, print and play, put the little paper into a sleeve and just try it out. Play some core box villains. That'll be fun if you're really looking for something new to sink your teeth into. There's custom scenarios you can look into. Maybe you can look into like making tokens if you're like an arts and crafty person, making tokens for the game, or making alt art cards. There's just so much you can do and explore within the game sphere that if it isn't just sitting down and playing the game, I'm sure you can find something to kind of get that spark back in. But if you feel like playing more Marvel Champions isn't quite your thing, and that's like, no, that's the opposite of how I get my spark back, I get burnt out of the game easily, I think my other big suggestion, and this is going from a playing Marvel Champions focus to the opposite end, the next section of the video, just don't play the game. And it seems really confusing, especially from a channel who's about all Marvel Champions, but I have a ton of other interests out of playing this game. As you saw in the intro, I was kind of showing this like fight box or this hitbox style controller that I was just clicking on. I've been playing a lot of games, not necessarily just fighting games, but I've been playing, 2D games with this controller, and it's been a lot of fun. Like I said, I have a ton of interest outside of just playing Marvel Champions. I do love the game. I think the game's a ton of fun. I basically still play it every single week on Saturdays in my multiplayer groups. But I've also been playing a lot of not Marvel Champions. I feel like when the kind of game is in a lull. There's not like the most conversation going on in the community. Because of that delay, we're in this lull between the reveals and when the product should have been out. Right about now, there would have been so much content on the, website, so much content in the space about Civil War, about decks, about kind of like thoughts on strength, discussion on the scenarios and the heroes, that it feels like a lot of that is missing or sort of like delayed a month, where we have to find other things to keep track of our time. And this is something that I recommend to a lot of people who are feeling burnt out with the game, and the advice is almost always just take a break from it. It might feel like, especially if you're a content creator, that you have to constantly be playing, constantly be keeping up with conversations around the game, talking with other creators, coming up with ideas, making videos. As you saw on the channel, I've been actually taking break weeks, so to say, multiple at this point, where for most of the year, I've uploaded 2 videos a week. It's been the Marvel Rewind and then something on a Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. Sometimes I've even done 3 videos a week where I had something that I wanted for the Friday or Saturday slot, but then there was an article review on Thursday, so then I would do like a Tuesday video, Thursday video, and then like a Saturday video. But a lot of my recent weeks have just been Marvel Rewind, and I think that's okay. I think because I haven't been interacting with the game as much because of this lull, I don't want to try and like force myself or exhaust all the ideas I have to talk about, discuss, or interact with the game, because it just kind of feels forced. It kind of feels like these aren't really ideas coming from me. I'm just looking for something to talk about rather than something that comes across naturally through like discussion of the game throughout different Discord servers. Usually a lot of my video ideas comes from discussions I have in the community or reactions from the community itself, that I just feel just trying to kind of inorganically create those discussion points wouldn't really make a super good video to discuss, to talk about on my end, or for you guys to watch, in my opinion. So I've been taking kind of a break. I've been playing a bit less than I had been, making a bit of less decks than I had been in the past, just been thinking about the game less, but not because I like the game any less, because I think this is a good time to take that mental break from the game. Because there's not a ton going on in the community, because there's not so much going on, your relationship with the game can kind of lessen a bit. It can like loosen its grip on you in a way if you really do love and enjoy playing the game like I do, where it's kind of refreshing to focus on different things. So I've been going through my gaming backlog for sure, and I finished up God of War PS4 recently, the 2018. That one was really good. I finished up Hades, the original, on Steam. That was also extremely good, and I'm not even a big roguelike fan. Even before that, I had finished Shadow of the Colossus on the PS2. There's like so many games I've been playing through and enjoying. On another spectrum, I've been reading a lot. I've been getting into comics. I've been reading through Absolute Martian Manhunter, which is a fantastic 6-run series. If you have not checked it out, please check it out. It's from DC Universe. I've been reading Fantastic Four's North Run. Hopefully, that's where we're getting in the PAX in-flight report, in November. Hopefully that'll be our next box. We'll have to see on that. I've also been reading through the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, because that's a part of kind of media and pop culture I've never interacted with. I'm never really a big fantasy guy or a big high fantasy guy, and I thought what better than kind of maybe one of the most critically acclaimed pieces of fantasy literature of all time, kind of like where a lot of fantasy tropes originate from, the Lord of the Rings. I'm on the 2nd book. I really enjoyed the first one. I thought it was really good, and so I just want to finish up those original 3 and just go from there. And the bottom line of this video, and essentially what I want to talk about, is just find things that bring you enjoyment and do them. And it sounds like really obvious, corny, and cliche to say, but if Marvel Champions and being part of that discussion is a really big part of your enjoyment, and for me as a YouTuber and content creator, that is somewhat inherent to my enjoyment of the game. It's not the only reason I play and enjoy the game. I just really love the game and the mechanics, but part of that discussion and talking with the community is a big part of it for me. And because it's been so subdued as of recent because of the delay, I've just found myself naturally gravitating towards different avenues of creative expression. I've been like working through like maybe a couple of alt art cards I want to hopefully show eventually, and I've had some fun making thumbnails for some of the more out there videos that I've been uploading, such as like how I organize my cards or travel with my cards. That was a really fun video to make that sort of came from that kind of boredom or that lull in the content sphere, where I'm like, wow, this is even though I don't think that was really one of those forced videos I was talking about, it was something that I thought was really fun and something that had been in my back of my mind for a little bit, that I'm like, wow, in this little period I finally have the time to really sit down, make this video, make this funny looking thumbnail, and release it out into the world, which you guys also seem to enjoy a lot. But as always, my again, going back to the main point, is just to do something you enjoy. Maybe a hobby that you haven't been, giving a lot of attention to. For me, like I said, that it's been playing games, playing through my backlog. It's been reading. It's been reading comics and doing things like that, spending time with family, exercising. Just find something that you think is really enjoyable, and take that mental break from the game. The game will be here. The discussion is not going to leave you behind, and your excitement will, I think, only increase when you come back to it, because you're like, wow, we're so much closer. I've been focused on all these other things that, wow, Civil War is now 2 weeks away, I think, from this point. I forgot if it's coming out like the 14th or the 21st or something like that, but if I'm understanding correctly, I think Civil War is about 2 weeks out from this video's upload. So, I mean, that's already so close. I remember when it initially got delayed, I'm like, there's no way. It's like a month and a half, and now it's basically almost here. Can't wait to get my hands on the product. I can't wait for the article coming out this Thursday. And, as always, I hope you guys are going to be here and are looking forward to my reaction to that. And the Return of Marvel we run next week, as always. This is a pretty aimless video, but I just wanted to kind of talk about what I've been doing during the slow period, what I think some suggestions Marvel-wise and non-Marvel-wise I have for you guys to enjoy kind of this low period, embellish in it, savor it, and then get ready to just get back on that hype train as soon as Civil War is coming out, as soon as these reveals start coming out for the new heroes. I hope you guys are excited as I am to get back into it, but to enjoy the last few days of the slow period when you can. If you guys have any suggestions or any sort of like comments on how you've been enjoying this lull period, what you've been doing recently and getting into and having a lot of fun with, feel free to leave it in the comment section down below. I read all the comments, and I'm super interested in what you guys have been doing yourselves to keep busy, to distract yourself from the game, distract yourself in the game by doing different mod sets, heroes, and whatnot. Anything and everything, let me know down in the comment section down below. Leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, all that good stuff. Take care of yourselves. Have a good one. I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.